and welcome to this episode of Retinal Realities in honor of the youth of our country and brought to you by Roche Products. This episode is hosted by Sonya, and our special guest today is Nicholas Dedekind, a visually impaired bowler. Sonya, will you get the ball rolling, or should I say, would you get the bowling ball rolling?
Sure. So, to our audience out there, just a little bit about Youth Day. Youth Day in South Africa is celebrated on June 16th and symbolizes the courage and resilience of the youth who stood against various challenges during the year 1976. For the Retina South Africa Youth Group, this day holds special significance as we strive to inspire and empower youth with visual impairments, in particular those related to retinal conditions. Through advocacy, support, and education, Retina South Africa encourages young individuals to transcend their limitations, fostering a sense of community, self-reliance, and transformation. Our efforts aim to ensure that all youth can contribute meaningfully to society and lead fulfilling lives. With that said, it is an honor to introduce our guest, Nicholas. Thank you, Nicholas, for making the time to share your very inspiring story with us. As a brief introduction, Nicholas is a 24-year-old who resides in Johannesburg, South Africa. And apart from attaining a BCom economics degree, he represents South Africa in the International Bowls arena for Disabled World Championships in the B3 categories men's singles. Welcome, Nicholas.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, Nicholas, we'll just go through a few questions. So let's kick off. Nicholas, we're all very keen to hear about your chosen sport, bowls. Please describe the sport for those who are not aware of it, and perhaps describe your journey into the sport and how you've discovered it.
Yeah, so it's actually on the face of it quite a simple game, but it gets quite technical. So the object of the game is to get your bowls, which you roll on a bowl screen, as close as possible to the small white ball called the jack. And it gets, as I said, quite technical. And there's different ways of playing it. But it is a really enjoyable sport for all ages, and I always like to say that bowls it's for anyone. It's typically associated for older people, but as I've come to realize, it's really fun and also very challenging for people of all ages. And how I got into it was through my dad. He started playing bowls, and he then said, do you want to come join me? It's actually quite fun, and I feel that it's something that you can do in spite of your visual impairment. So then I did that. Initially very challenging, but yeah, there's ways to get around the visual impairment. But yeah, I've been playing bowls for 2 years now, just over 2 years, and it's been brilliant. I've enjoyed it.
Wow, it's always cool when it's a family sport and you're doing this with your loved ones. So from our previous chat, you have limited central vision. So how does your training and preparation for the competition adapt to accommodate your visual impairment?
Yeah, so when I'm looking where to aim, I actually can't see anything down that end because of my absence of central vision. Seeing far and in detail isn't really possible. So what I do is you have to sort of break it down mathematically, which is quite interesting. So if you know how far the jack is from you in terms of if it's anything from 33 meters to 23 meters, that determines how hard you roll the ball. And also in visually impaired bowls, we use a director. So they actually stand with a foot to aim at about 3 meters in front of you. And they kind of estimate the line that you have to take, and then I try and determine the weight. And yeah, we also get to use a monocular to kind of look down the other end and see kind of what's going on. So yeah, it gets quite difficult and quite technical to make up for the lack of eyesight, but it's a good system and it works well.
Okay, it's always interesting how visually impaired people find ways and techniques to overcome their visual impairment. And so I take it those are one of your challenges. Apart from that, what are your other challenges and how do you actually overcome those?
Some of the challenges are very difficult to overcome, to be honest. So I have to ask other players to be patient with me because obviously it takes a bit longer for me to do it. And another challenge is I can only really play well with my director, who happens to be my father. So that's also sometimes a bit challenging because I can't really play without him, which is nice. It's like a team, but sometimes challenging. And also, it can be really difficult not being able to see what you're aiming at and what you're doing, especially when you're playing against someone who can. But to be honest, I see that as a challenge, and I like proving that I can do what anyone else can do, just with a bit of assistance and a bit of help and the right attitude and determination.
Wow, that's great. And Nicholas, can you share any specific strategies or technology that you use to enhance your performance in bowls, as well as just your daily life? Because now there's many technological tools that assist visually impaired people. Is there any that you specifically are fond of?
Yes, so on the bowl screen, I use a monocular. It doesn't not necessarily a very expensive one, but it does the job. It allows me to see the picture down that end. I have other visual assistive technologies. For example, I was fortunate enough to get an Ocutech about 2 years ago, and this really helped me throughout my studies, doing a BCom economics at Tux, and then getting into honors and actually getting a distinction for my honors. And with tools such as that, it really helped me to actually be able to see what's going on in class on the board. Also, I've used a MagniLink desk magnifier, and also I've got a Topaz desk magnifier. So there's plenty of things that I've been very fortunate enough to have in that have gotten me through school and varsity, and even now at work and everyday life, as well as bowls. So they really are, these tools and technologies really can almost level the playing field and are really vital to performing well as a visually impaired person.
Yeah, definitely. And also to just making day-to-day living easier. So,
Yeah.
with representing South Africa on an international arena, how do you balance your career as an economist with other aspects of your life, especially bowls and training and all the prep that goes into games?
It is quite difficult. I've only started working now in February. So when I was at varsity, the schedule isn't necessarily as busy, so it was a bit easier to play more bowls and make time for friends and family. But now that I work, it is a challenge to balance everything. But thankfully, I get a fair amount of leave from work. So then that leave came in handy for the World Championships, which I just did, because that was about 2 weeks, which I needed leave for. And they were understanding and supportive at my place of work. So I was very happy about that. And in terms of training and practice, it is mainly on the weekends when I've got time for that. And sometimes even in the evenings under floodlights to train and practice. Yeah, you've got to find time where you can and make certain sacrifices. And yeah, but if you find the right balance, I've always believed that it's very important to have the right balance in terms of work and family, friends, social, your loved ones like my girlfriend, to make time for everyone and also to try and further your own interests and achieve what you want to achieve.
Absolutely. Balance is so important in this highly driven world that we find ourselves in. And Nicholas, what advice would you give to other individuals out there who have a visual impairment and who are interested in pursuing a sport, especially bowls?
I feel that sport is extremely important in life. Before I started losing my vision when I was 12, I loved cricket specifically. And that's actually how I realized that I'd lost my eyesight because I would see the ball and then it would be gone and then it would be past me because it was in my blind spot. When I got my visual impairment, I still wanted to find a way to still compete with sport. And first I did the blind cricket, which was interesting. I enjoyed that. And then I moved on to the athletics and now the bowls. So I've got a fair understanding of different visually impaired sports and how to cope with it. And I would encourage people to play bowls specifically because it's also the reason why I've chosen it, is that you can play competitively and well against able-bodied people. So that allows you to practice more often, and there's a social element. You get to meet people, and it's generally quite a very fun game. And the practice is fun. So I would definitely encourage people of all ages to play bowls. As I've said before, bowls is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be 20, you can be 80, you can be a male, you can be a female, you can be disabled, and you can be able-bodied. And with the right attitude and with the right assistance, if needed, you can perform well and be competitive. And that obviously improves the experience and the enjoyment levels. So I would definitely encourage those, especially the young people who do often tend to see bowls as a sport for old people, to try it and pursue it. It's really great fun. And it's a sport that you can do competitively, even with a visual impairment.
Wow, that's good. It's very rare that you find a sport that is an equalizer in this terms of visual impairment versus having vision. So you did mention previously that you got some support from your workplace, but can you tell us about the overall support you've received from your community, your family, your friends, and of course the workplace when it comes to you taking on bowls?
Yeah, I've been very grateful for the support that I've received from my friends, family, and the bowls community as a whole when it comes to playing bowls. I was very excited to get into visually impaired bowls. There is an organization called VIBSA, Visually Impaired Bowls South Africa, and they are a very nice, like, tight-knit community where they are always welcoming new people. Doesn't matter if you've been a world champion, a Commonwealth champion, or it's your first day playing. They're very accommodating and they help you and teach you techniques and ways to play better, and just generally ways to cope with life as well, because they're often more experienced in that. And they've got very similar visual impairments in the different three categories of visual impairment that there are in bowls. So yeah, that was great to get involved with them and to learn from them. On top of that, my bowls club here in Pretoria everyone's been very supportive of me and helped me wherever I need help when playing social games or competitive games, and being patient with me. And to be honest, most of the help and support that I've received when it comes to bowls has been my family, getting me to the games and coming to support me and buying me the things that I need to get started and to teach me the basics. As I said, my father is my director, and he also taught me how to play bowls. And also, we've gone through this process of learning how to play visually impaired bowls competitively together. We're a really good team. So I'm really appreciative of his support in particular, but also my family, my mother and my brother, and my girlfriend have been very supportive in in being okay with me spending as much time playing bowls as I do, and also just being very supportive and coming to watch me and cheer me on. So I'm very grateful for their help.
Nicholas, thank you for sharing your inspirational story with us. Your journey and achievements as a visually impaired bowls player is truly remarkable. Thank you for being a beacon of hope and motivation, and we wish you continued success and all the best for your future. Thank you,
Thank you so
Nicholas.
much.
And thank you so much, Nicholas, for sharing so generously with us and so openly. It really has been wonderful listening to you and, in fact, learning from you. And in fact, thank you to both you, Nicholas and Sonya, for being such an amazing inspiration to all of us. And the final thanks goes again to our sponsors, Roche Products, for making this series a reality. And please remember to subscribe to the series by clicking on the subscribe button on this page. This will help us to keep this popular series going.